It's time to add some spice to your nooner. Nooner funny. This is the place where big-time guests, bold opinions, and little cute doggies come together. This is Rothman and Ice.
Sponsored by Pella Columbus, the #1 rated windows and doors in Columbus.
All right, Daddy's home, boys. I will serve no fries before their time. Good to be back in the saddle. Rothman and Ice. Anthony Rothman here. Matty Ice to my right. Baker behind the shield. Waiting on the coach. Thumbs up. We don't have to tap dance at all. We'll send you to Ryan Day.
This is a live feed of Ryan Day's weekly press conference, sponsored by the Roofing Guys.
Very well coached, but again, usually it comes down to personnel, and they have very good personnel. It starts up front, very, very good defensive line. Linebackers are active. Corners are all conference players, and the safeties are very good as well. So I think it's, it fits them well in what they do, and it'll be a big challenge for our offense.
Matt Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, we saw a little bit of practice yesterday. It looked like Luke, as you told us earlier in the week, was doing some stuff at guard.
Yeah.
How much have you guys tinkered with things, or do you guys kind of have what you think you'll do Saturday set on the offensive line?
Yeah, we're pretty much set going into practice today. So we got last day in pads. We'll take the pads off on Thursday. I felt like practice yesterday was excellent. I thought we had a bunch of energy in practice. Guys were competing. It's a combination of good on good and also against scouts. There was just good energy at practice yesterday, being outside, and we'll do that again today. And I think coming off of today's practice, last opportunity in pads this week, we'll get a feel for exactly what that rotation is going to look like. There's been some good positive mojo up there. Guys are getting after it. I feel like we got a good plan on what we want to get done this week. But let's take a look at the film here tonight, figure out where that's at, and then we'll attack tomorrow.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
More of a big picture, I think, just what we got around the country. You've seen some other guys from the 25 recruiting class already enrolled and participating in practice. Are there guys you're expecting as you try to make this run here to join you guys in practicing, whether it's now or getting out to both sites?
Yeah, so we've talked, guys need to finish their high school career first and then move on from there. But classes start here the first week of January. So based on how things go, we've talked to those guys about that opportunity, and some of them have to make a decision whether they want to play in all-star games or not. But for those who are enrolling at mid-year, based on how these next few games shake out, we're going to have an opportunity to have these guys here, and that's been the plan all along, to have them practice with us all the way to the 20th.
Just to follow, is Eric still with you guys now that he's in the portal?
Right now he's not. He's not, yeah.
Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Hey Ryan, on that snippet that we saw.
But just so you know, that was his decision. Yeah, just so you know that, yeah.
That snippet of practice we saw yesterday, you were with the offensive line, very active, very vocal. Considering what that group's going through, that makes sense. What has this week been like for you, being more involved with them and being a part of that group?
Well, want them to play with great confidence in this game, and whenever you feel like there's something that needs addressed, you got to make sure you're on it. And I feel like they've had a good week of practice, and their confidence is building, and I want to be a part of that. I'll be a part of that again today. Justin's worked hard this week, and those guys have as well. But it comes down to the leadership of Donovan and Josh, and then it goes from Carson, and then obviously to the guards. But I think it also helps having Will, encouraging these guys with leadership. When you get into playoff games, obviously the offensive line play is critical, and we need these guys to play really, really well. So same thing, we'll be in there today, and I feel like yesterday was a good, again, mojo coming off the field, good energy coming off the field that way, and they know how they need to play in this game. Not that everything has to be perfect, but we got to rock off the ball and knock people back. They have a good front, and so might we swing and miss every once in a while? Okay, but we're not going to swing and miss by not being aggressive. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to go after these guys and making sure that we're moving back the line of scrimmage. And we got to make sure we do that again today in practice, and then use the time leading up to the game to get their body and mind right to go play the game.
Quick follow-up, has it been fun for you to be a part of that energy?
It's just part of coaching. You bounce around from different group and different room, and ultimately it's the jobs of the coaches to get them ready to go play really, really hard and do their job. But yeah, bouncing from room to room to help these guys understand what their job is in this game plan, and that's it. And I think we've done a good job of focusing on that which is doing your job in this game plan and just making sure that, we're coaching the team and the players are playing and that we keep the main thing the main thing.
Far right, Spencer Holbrook, let him in a row.
Yeah, the running backs, what have you seen from them, running behind this offensive line that you guys have been tinkering with that makes you think that you guys are going to be able to do some damage on that?
I think it's important for them to have their best game this year in this game, both Travion and Quinshon. They have had a good season this year. They've done some really good things, but now we got to be at our best and we got to run downhill, and everybody's a part of that. Will's a part of that. The receivers are part of that. The tight ends, but obviously the offensive line and running backs are a critical part of that. So you've heard me say this before: 3-yard runs got to be 5-yard runs. We got to take care of the football. We got to get downhill, and then the first 4 yards are the most important. We got to get 4 yards every run, and then after that, that's up to them. They know that they want to play their best game. I think their preparation's been good. Got to continue to have a good one today, but there was some good energy yesterday. I think the runs fit well, and so we got to be creative on how we get them the ball as well. I think that's a big part of this game plan.
You guys brought in Quinshon because, first of all, he's a really good player, but also to keep Travion and Quinshon both fresh for this. How have you seen that play out the way that you guys envisioned it from a carry standpoint, from a load management standpoint with those two as they head into now the next 4 games?
They look fresh to me. They're flying around out there at practice. They look strong. It looks like they're seeking contact, which this time of the year is important, and they look fast. So, now we got to go do that on Saturday night and play that way.
Dan Holt, left ward.
Ryan, you guys made a decision at kicker. Are you guys going to stick with Jaden Fielding?
Yeah, so, today in practice is our field goal day, so those guys will get out there and practice. We'll see how today goes. We'll see how the rest of the week goes, and then, we'll make a decision at the end of the week how we want to enter the game. Not that that's any different than any other week, but we'll certainly be taking a hard look how it goes today.
How have you seen Jaden respond to that Michigan game?
Well, I think his teammates have been good in terms of, support, and knowing that, we wouldn't have put him in the game if we didn't trust him. But he also knows that, he's got to do his job. Everyone's got to do their job around here. And it's very important, to winning games that everyone does their job. His job is to make field goals. And so, he's got to have a good day today. And Austin will be right in there too. And they'll both have an opportunity to kick today. And, we'll make a best decision coming out of this week of practice that we can to see who gives us the best chance to win the game. And then we'll go from there.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Ryan, when you talk about rocking off the ball, knocking back the line of scrimmage, certainly that would have been easier if you had Josh and Seth. When you are shorthanded, I know you can't abandon that mentality. What other solutions could there be if you are not at the same level that you were 6 weeks ago?
Yeah, well, I think that's a mentality. Now, schematically, you got to make sure that we're adjusting and doing, again, maximizing our strengths, minimizing our deficiencies. We've got to do that in this game. And so, yeah, without getting into too much, we got to still, we're Ohio State. We still got to be able to do that. However, there are ways that we can, again, maximize our talents, and that's probably the best way to put it without getting into too many details on things. But you're right. You got to find out what your guys do the best, and then go from there. But I also think we have some capable guys up there that can, do a great job of, getting knocked back, and but a part of that is double teams. You gotta use your technique, and then the running back's got to get downhill, and then there's a confidence level in that. And we'll continue to work this game plan. I think that we got a good plan on how we're going to attack this thing. Got to go put it on the field, but we're also not just going to run sideways all over the place. There's a good complement of getting the ball to the perimeter, but also running the ball and getting vertical.
How we might see one snap of practice and make sweeping conclusions. And you still have to watch another practice and get the pads up. Do you think right now that Tegra would remain starting as the starter at right guard? Because it felt like that was maybe the spot that started the last conversation for the previous 3 weeks.
I think it's a good point. I think you're going to see Austin kind of going back and forth. I think Luke has been at left here, left guard during these last couple weeks of practice. Tegra stayed at right, and that's kind of Austin will be the swingman because he's done both, and so I think you're going to see a rotation at both spots.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, the last game you had where you guys had a touchdown on your opening drive was Oregon, and I know you talked about in the past you don't script those series, that it didn't come in buckets of plays, but is there anything you can do to maybe try to manufacture more points out of the gate? Because you talked about it, sort of building confidence, especially important this week.
Yeah, well, we always want to start every game fast. Ultimately, it comes down to playing 4 quarters. So that doesn't change anything, but it's all about execution, and we have to make sure that we're putting our guys in the best position to be successful and practicing it that way. And so once we move the ball into that red zone, we got to finish in this game in the red zone, and that's a big part of it, as coming off the last game. And so that's been an emphasis, and getting some confidence early in the game certainly would go a long way.
Jeremy Birmingham, podcast.
Ryan, I'm not sure if you want to talk about it. You guys just announced the signing of Philip Daniels in the transfer portal. As far as him individually, what do you think makes him a good fit for the potential spot on the offensive line? But in a bigger picture, has your portal approach changed at all based on the last couple of years, or is it where you guys are still looking to just supplement, fill a couple holes where it seems like a lot of college football is making wholesale changes to the roster?
I think every year it's become probably a higher percentage just across the country. For us, it'll probably be the same thing this year. I think last year we ended up 7 or 8 guys. It'll probably be higher this year. Maybe there was another guy I'm forgetting, but I think every year that number is going to go up. But as we've talked about before, this sustainability of a program has got to be built through high school recruiting, and then development, and then retention of your roster, which that's not going to change here. That being said, we know that there's some positional needs that we got to get addressed, and we're going to work hard to make sure that we do that. I think there's unbelievable opportunity in certain spots. You're seeing some of that already, and so we'll be aggressive in making sure that we already have some good guys in that room already that we feel like can continue to grow and develop, and then have a bright future ahead of them. But we certainly are going to need some help in there, and so we got to go out and make sure that we're addressing that, because we're getting ready to go play in a game, but there's another season coming real fast, and this portal is open, and so we got to make sure that we're doing our due diligence in building our roster for next season.
Is there a recipe, like a guy like Philip, for example, who's got 3 years left to play, has gone out, left Ohio, played good ball somewhere else in the Big Ten, or that level of play? Is that like the recipe that you guys would like to follow?
I think when you look at it, the NFL gives you a lot of great information, and when you look at the value of a rookie as opposed to somebody who's in their second contract who has shown that they can play in the NFL for multiple years at a high level, the value is different. Well, it's similar in college. There's certain freshmen that come in that are impact players day one, and that's one thing. But for a good majority of freshmen, it's going to take a year or two for them really to reach their true value or top value and potential on the field. So bringing folks in who have played years already in college, who have shown that they can play at a certain level, there's a value there that's different than bringing in an 18, 19-year-old player as a freshman. So those are all things that we're all looking to calibrate as we're figuring things out moving forward.
Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Just to clarify on my memory, so you talked about Austin being that swing guy. If we could find to start potentially if things go well today, is he going to start left guard in this game?
We really haven't talked about probably the starter yet, but they're going to roll and see how today goes, and then we'll kind of decide who's going to end up taking the first snap.
You mentioned that Luke's been close to pushing for playing time and getting on the field. Was there anything that he's done that, like, all of a sudden, recently he made another jump to get onto the field, or is this more about just trying something to find your...
I think it's been a steady increase over time, and now he's got to go put it on the field.
Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, when you look at Tennessee's tempo and the way they kind of spread out defense with how wide they go, how much of a benefit is it to have 2 guys at safety like Halo and Layton who can prevent their shots on the play action, but also kind of be consistent and get Jackson and stuff?
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, create space there, and having veteran guys who, understand how teams are trying to attack them, but they're also going to have to tackle very, very well in space. Not just them, but the corners. They're going to challenge you there. They're going to try to get the ball with perimeter screens and different things to the outside, and then also the linebackers. But ultimately, it's going to come down to our front. Our front's got to win up front. Our front has to win the gaps. They've got to do a good job of knocking back the line of scrimmage, getting off of blocks, and then we got to tackle really well. Their running back is an excellent player. He makes a lot of guys miss. He breaks a lot of tackles. So we got to be sure we're all running to the football. And that's one of the things about it being spread out, that it's a challenge, but also the tempo part of it. And so, they're counting on us not doing that. So we've got to do a good job of that. It's been a huge emphasis this week. I really like our plan. Our guys are energized right now. I think the guys on defense have great confidence in practice. You can feel it. You can just see it. So, again, focus today is just an unbelievable Wednesday practice. A lot of third down, a lot of red zone, a lot of situational things, which we know will be very important in this game. And then we polish it up on Thursday, Friday, and go.
You guys talked all offseason about needing the second team guys to be there for a playoff run like this.
Yeah.
With Tennessee's tempo, does this feel like a game where you're going to need Kate McDonald, Edric Houston, like all of those guys are from?
Yep, we're going to need depth for that reason. Now, if you get 3 and outs, it certainly makes a big difference, when they can't continue to stay on the field and wear you down. So we know how important it is, that first play of a drive. They do a good job of that, in terms of how they scheme up the first play of a drive, because they know that first down is critically important to their success. So, 3 and outs will be critical in the game, and certainly will help with that as we're talking about it.
Stefan Krejci, Cleveland.com.
We heard yesterday Mecca kind of talk about, not just the players trying to improve from the Michigan game, but also kind of holding the coaches accountable as well. Just what has that dialogue kind of been? How the coaches kind of embrace maybe what the players are saying as well, as opposed to one-way avenue.
I think when you come off of any loss, you want to identify the things that went wrong, the things that obviously went well, but the things that went wrong, and then everyone's got to take accountability. And if we're going to move forward, there has to be accountability between the players and the coaches, and that's about trust. And there's been open dialogue there. We've had some really good meetings in those areas, and you got to take accountability. Here's some things we got to do better. Here's adjustments we have to make based on what's going on, and then both sides understanding that we're all looking to do the same thing here. And I think you got a very, very mature team, so their feedback is very critical in this. And I thought it's been very, very productive. I think we're all in the same. It allows you to move on quicker, I think. You get to get it out there. Everyone talks through it. Here are the adjustments we're going to make. Everybody agrees with it. And then we're all rolling in the right direction. And that's where we're at right now.
How much do you think it helps a guy like Jeremiah to kind of see Mecca be one of those leaders? Do you feel like Jeremiah's voice has kind of grown? Even though he's a freshman, he is still one of the best players on the team?
Right now, I would say he lets his play do his talking for him. When he does speak up, people listen because they have a lot of respect for him. But right now, he's letting his play do his talking right now. But he's also getting an opportunity to see some tremendous leadership within the team.
Andrew Gillis, Cleveland.com.
When you look at Nico Iamaleava, what stands out about him on film, and maybe how have you seen him get better throughout the course of the second season?
Well, he's got a strong arm, which is critical with their offense and how they want to, push the ball to the sideline. With the NFL hashes, with the college hashes, it's certainly wider than it is in the NFL. And so, they try to spread you all the way to the sideline. So he's in line with the quarterbacks they've had in the past who have a strong arm. He can get the ball out quickly, makes good decisions, but he's also athletic, and he's done a nice job of, if the first couple reads aren't there, he goes and looks to make plays. So we got to make sure that we got a good plan for his scrambles, because that's something that's kind of been hidden this year for them. And he's very accurate as well, so very talented.
Joe Nugent, WCMH.
Certainly won't be the first night game of the season, but first one in a long time. What does the day look like for the team as you build toward kickoff?
Well, we've been practicing a little bit later on. We moved it back a little bit. 4 o'clock we felt like was good. We get any later than that, it gets a little bit too long of a day. But we've kind of moved things back a little bit on purpose. We've let them sleep in, as opposed to the last half of the season when we were playing at noon. We were getting guys to bed early. We were waking them up early. We were starting things a little bit earlier. With this game, we've had 3 weeks to prepare. We're letting them sleep in a little bit, bringing them in here and practicing later on, just to kind of get their biorhythms in sync for that. But the day of the game, again, let them sleep in, try to keep it as routine as possible. We'll have breakfast. We'll come over here for a little while, get a couple of walkthroughs in, let them get some treatment, go back over, have a few meetings. 4 hours before the game, we have our pregame meal, and then we're on the bus and we're rolling.
Bill Ginowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
particularly against the better teams on your schedule, how close would you say you've come to playing the kind of football that you will need to play to win this whole thing?
Yeah, I think you've definitely seen throughout the year, whether it's on offense, defense, and special teams, just very good play. But then you've also seen times where it hasn't been that way. So a complete game is what's required to win this game right here, and that's our focus.
Yeah, I mean, for extended periods, you've had that in games. Penn State obviously played with Indiana, but not for 60 minutes against the better teams. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I think we've played some good teams this year. We've had 3 top 5 opponents, and we've gone obviously toe to toe with everybody and won 2 of them, and came up short obviously at Oregon. But there's they have good players too, and they've made plays, but. We know what our capability is, and we want to make sure that we're playing our best game on defense, our best game on offense, and obviously taking care of the football. And then obviously on special teams, you've seen us, really make a major impact in the second half of the season in special teams. So we have the capability to do that. I think you've seen that in some of those games as well.
It's been 3 weeks. It'll be 3 weeks since the last game. How long has it felt?
I think as we get closer to this game, guys want to get back on the field now. You can feel it. There's just an edginess to them. They want to get back out and play this game, coaches included. It hasn't felt as long as a bowl practice, where it's been a month or so leading up to it. So I think it's a good lead up. I think we're in a good place right now, and guys are excited, and want to get this thing rolling, and we got a big month ahead of us.
Tim Payne.
Oh, thank you very much. Ryan, you played in some big games as a college quarterback and stuff. What would be your encouragement or whatever last minute kind of talk with Will Howard be about in a game of this magnitude, where you got to be on point, but you also got to play free to a certain extent, right? I mean, what would you tell him, I guess?
I try to tell this to all the players, not just quarterbacks, but when you're playing in big games, you don't, whether maybe it's a defensive lineman, or you don't sit up all night thinking about making that big sack or making that big throw. You really focus on going as hard as you possibly can, and those plays will happen because you've worked so hard. You're going to fall back to the level of your training, and your instincts will take over in those moments. I think sometimes when we try to play out a game or predetermine what's going to happen, you can get yourself a little bit sideways. So, for all those guys, it's, let's just, when you put your head on your pillow, just focus on going as hard as you possibly can and giving everything you have. And, maybe that's for him a scramble or, but for a quarterback, I think it's important in big games to find the rhythm of the game early on, and sometimes you can be a little too fast. Sometimes you can be a step slow. You got to find that rhythm early in the game, and then it kind of takes off from there.
When you look at plays, Denzel Burke forcing Tyler Warren out at like the 2 or 3 yard line at Penn State, the last second kind of thing. That turned out to be a huge play because y'all got the goal line stand and then came off the goal line. Do you encourage that to your players, that every play can be the play?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. We showed that clip in here after the game, and then the plays that followed right after that. And absolutely, every play matters in big games. And so, that's it. And understanding that, you just never know when that play could be. And I think on defense, it's important, if something like that were to happen, you got to get them on the ground or, some other situation, give our defense a chance to get out there and play. Because, if you give them a yard, they're going to defend it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Good. Okay, guys.
You've been listening to the Ryan Day Press Conference on The Fan.
Sponsored by The Roofing Guys. For all your roofing, siding, and gutter needs, contact The Roofing Guys at theroofingguys.com.
All right, the under cashes. Big time, put it at 26.5. Where was everybody, Iceman? First of all, before I get to that, it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man. This is one of those situations where we get a few days into this thing with you not being around, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he's ready for that jersey to be hung up in the rafters. Maybe we're going to get that retirement email from my guy. But it's great to see you. We haven't had a full show in a while. This is like one guy is in, one guy is out. You're here today. CB's off, but we're going to be back together tomorrow. But it's great to see you, man. Happy holidays.
Thanks,
How
man.
you been?
You as well. Everything's okay. Yeah. Little trip to Chi-Town. See the Pops. Take care of some things and back in it. and it's good to be back, especially now officially knee-deep in game week.
Okay.
So
good,
I've
man.
got a chance to recharge the batteries a little bit and get back to it. A little out of sync, but we'll get there. I feel like the first thing that Ryan Day said today was about the good energy in practice and the positive mojo. And I said to you, and I'll just reveal what I said. Said the same thing for Michigan week. Same thing. Like, I'm not going to get caught up in this. I've watched a lot of Tennessee over the last 10 days. They should beat them. They should beat them. They really should. I know it's one game, and there's not anything other than both teams have been sitting and stewing for 3 weeks after bad games. At least Tennessee won their bad game against Vandy because they looked like trash, especially in the first quarter. They gave up a 100-yard kickoff return to start the game. Sampson fumbled on his first or second carry. They gave up another touchdown after that, and they were down in that game. Ohio State, we know what the Michigan game was about. But I'm telling you right now, I watched that Tennessee team line up on 3rd and 1 against Vandy and run up the middle and get stuffed, and do it again on 4th down and 1 and run up the middle and get stuffed again.
Those Vandy boys are tough. We know a Vandy boy. We know J. Lou's built different.
It's SMU's favorite team.
They beat Bama.
Right, exactly. But I do come back to that 4 weeks into this season, there were people who thought, especially people that come on our show, that Tennessee was the most talented, best team in the country through 4 weeks until they lost to Arkansas. And then they came back to earth, like a lot of teams did. And so I like that Tennessee had a little grit to them, that they came back 3 straight. And by the way, they came back in all those games against Bama and Florida, Kentucky. They had to come back, come from behind and win. They lost to Georgia on the road. They needed some help. They get in, and here they are. They have their chance. But I looked at a couple of things, even in that loss to Arkansas. I thought, okay, did Arkansas slow down Dylan Sampson? Did they find their power and shut it down? No, they didn't. 22 for $138 and 2 scores. He had his game against Arkansas, and they lost. And by the way, they didn't even turn it over that game. But guess what they did do? They gave up 300 yards passing. And if Ohio State is going to put their money where their mouth is and be aggressive, as he said today, I thought Ryan Day was going to go into a chant, be aggressive, be aggressive. Yeah, I thought he was going to do that, or maybe the whole crowd would light him up for that. I feel like this has the makings, Matty, of another, okay, looked bad in the last game. We're not who people think, we're not who they think we were. And now they get to play with that show the world attitude that he's been pitching this week. And guess what I'm doing? I'm buying it.
You're going all in.
I'm lapping it up.
He's in.
I'm lapping it up again that this team will not lose 2 in a row on their home field. And this 27-degree high, you got a Long Beach quarterback coming in, and Nico, and see how he handles that. And I am buying it. Now, I understand they've got some 6'5" receivers. They've got some dudes. I'm not denying that. But I have no clue with 2 teams that have been sitting and stewing for 3 weeks about their last games, which weren't their best, even though Tennessee won.
It's a great breakdown of who Tennessee is. I want to go to what you started with off the top. They better have good energy. We said this coming out of the Michigan game. You got a few days. Lick your wounds, get back in the lab, and it's time to get after it. But I'm kind of off hearing about those things. Last couple of years, we had to hear about toughness. And I said, I don't want to hear about toughness. Right. I want to hear about execution. And that's what I want to see come Saturday, because this team has no excuse to not be laser focused at the task at hand and the task ahead of them, and that is to potentially win a national championship, which is obviously still in play. We talk so much about this roster all off season, the money they spent, how good it looks on paper, how good they've looked in spots along the way to get to this point. Has it been perfect? We all know it hasn't. The way it ended was bitter. I totally understand that. And now they're still shifting things around, to me, at the most important unit outside of your quarterback position, which to me is the big concern on Saturday. Because when you talk about what's in front of Will Howard right now, it seems very uncertain over there. And I know Coach Day is going to breathe positivity into his guys, and rightfully so. But I just think they're still shuffling things around. You heard him today say they're going to have the pads on. They're going to go back and look at the film. Is it Luke Montgomery at right guard? Is it Tegra Shabola? I have no idea. It sounds like even right now, they don't know what they're doing. So that is a big red flag for me because that is where this game gets very, very strange because of what Tennessee does have up front. And so, yeah, roster for roster right now, Ohio State's got the better roster. But you and I have talked about many a games in this sport, and that offensive line play, you know and we all know, it's a big, big deal. And so if they cannot move people around the way that they need to, that's how this thing gets really shaky for them on Saturday night.
Yeah, and, listen, their defense can do their part as well, which they did against Michigan, but we weren't afraid of Michigan's offense. So the defense should do that against Michigan. It was the scoring of the 10 points on their home field, which was the saddest part of it, and not taking the shots at the end zone and not going out swinging. I have a feeling if you can count on anything on Saturday, it's that. It's that. There is no way that he will keep doing something. And I say no way. I mean, I'm not there, but I would say, or in that room. But if they get into a tight game on Saturday night, he will take his shots. If he doesn't, then he's been lying to himself and everybody else.
And it's so unfortunate that sometimes you have to be backed into a corner to have that mentality. And I'm in wait, and I'm in wait and see, and that's humans. That's not just coaches. I think we all have some of that in us. But the unfortunate part about what you said is that we all see, and we've seen for years, that when the play calling does lean towards the aggressive side of things, more times than not, that's going to go your way because of the dudes you have.
Not only that, Matty, real quick.
Yeah.
It's the dudes you still have on defense that can cover up for some stuff if you do make some errors on offense. That's the beauty of having a great defense, is it allows you to be aggressive on offense.
I agree. And so you have this core of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball that are ready to go. He talked today about how the running backs are looking. Quinshawn, Travion, these guys are looking fresh. They're seeking out contact in practice. One thing that I did like hearing was he said we got to get creative on how they get the ball. And we've seen that work for them this year, whether it's Travion and Quinshawn in the backfield together, just the different dynamics that they can throw at them. They got to let their hair down. Open up some of those buttons. Let the chest hair out.
Yeah.
Because you can get away with it. You can get away with it. Baker's that type of guy. Baker's got on shorts when it's 20 degrees outside. But
he's a human heat pump.
It really is crazy. He's got the Macho Man tee on today. He's looking good over there. But the aggressive thing, like from Jump Street, that's got to happen. It's got to happen. It took all year long. A couple years ago, they got to the Georgia game. And whether it was Day or CJ or the collective of both those guys saying, you know what, this is the game, we're going to do it. And look how the game panned out. It didn't work out well for them, as we know the end result. But inside of that game was some high-level stuff. And I think they have a chance to pull that off if they come out with that mentality on Saturday.
Yeah, and I said it's weird how it's worked out because, I mean, certainly I wouldn't have predicted they would have lost to Michigan. Not many people did. But it does have that feeling of that I said that if Ohio State was a 6, 7, 8 seed, whatever they were going to be, that they were maybe going to be the last team people would want to see. But it all has to do with their attitude and whether they have this. They have to have the pride. They have to. You can't lose the way they did against Michigan, these guys, and not come out and say that they have everything to prove. The Tennessee part of this, they're a little bit on house money getting into the playoff. They get to come to Columbus. I guess you guys didn't tell me this, that you guys gave out the code on the show. I guess you guys decided to do that.
It wasn't us, but Tennessee fans cracked the code. And there's been rumblings, I don't know if this is factually correct, that the number is close to or, 30% orange is going to be in that stadium. So we shall see. But apparently, the code wasn't very easy to crack where you could get the tickets.
Yeah, well, from what I've been hearing from my boys over at Dream Seats there in Grandview, that you can get in now, the low end getting in is like $1.50 to $200. Like it has come down. The lower levels are starting at $250, and the sidelines are as low as $350. This is a playoff game, and it's a home game in December, which is unprecedented.
It is.
So it's weird. Michigan hangover potential, right? Do I want to spend the money again and go in and maybe witness another loss?
Yeah.
The holiday time that now you are getting into, people leaving town or taking the week off and all that.
And people that have already
traveling.
Spent a decent amount of money buying gifts and all that stuff, too. You know?
And potentially the bigger one, which maybe I buried, was, do you want to sit out there in 25-degree weather? I don't know.
You know my answer to that.
Yes.
Plus, AR, there's more coming. You're hoping to play 3 more games in this thing, right?
Well, yes.
Like maybe you want to spend your money on going to the Rose
Pasadena
Bowl or the national championship game.
Yep, and it's a great point. And we talked about that when they first started this. People, when we first expanded the playoff, we started talking about to people. That's why the home site was so key. Now, Tennessee can drive here and they can buy tickets from Buckeye fans who want to sell or cash in. But now it looks like the market is speaking, and that Buckeye fans who are holding out hope that maybe these tickets would go for hundreds and hundreds of dollars and they could pawn them off, that maybe they can't.
I'm glad you guys brought up the Rose Bowl. And I don't believe that this will be the case, but I think it's something that they just need to be aware of. And it is their focus on Tennessee and Tennessee only, and not thinking about revenge right now, right? Because I have to imagine that the way that game ended in Eugene, there's still some bitterness there, because that was the most anticipated matchup of the year, arguably, in college football, was Ohio State and Oregon getting together in Eugene. May the best man win, and it came down to just a few seconds, and it didn't go Ohio State's way. And baked in that game as well was some dirty stuff that happened by Oregon with the guy spitting in IGB's face and all of that. So they're going to be locked in on this game, but it's just something that I think that they need to also speak to themselves and say, hey, listen, we'll get to Oregon when we get to Oregon. And I know you want to get revenge against them, but this has got to be about 4 quarters of locked in on the Tennessee Volunteers.
I think the loss to Michigan hopefully did that.
Yeah.
And the other part about this is, I've looked at it from both ways. Yeah, would you rather be Oregon sitting with a bye? Of course you would. But I don't know if listen, they're a confident team. I also know they're the only undefeated team in America at this level. And they got to an undefeated year in an expanded playoff. And that is a weird vibe for me, for them, because to go, 16-0, they'll have to win 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Oregon to beat Ohio State and then maybe beat Texas, wait a minute, they'll have to win 1, 2, 3 games, and then maybe beat whoever's on the other side. That means that Oregon will have to go 16-0. And I'm telling you, sometimes losing a game or even 2 takes that level of pressure off. We know how tough it is to complete. Everybody does. They do. To complete an undefeated season in a regular year. When back in the day when it was just the BCS, when it was just you and another team and you play for the title, your game, your bowl game meant whoever won it was going to win it all. And then you went to 4 and to try to run the table all the way. Now you're asking a team that went 13-0 to win 3 more. Now they're in a pretty good position to do it because they have the bye, but they will have to play a team, if it is Ohio State, a team that at home, it took every last thing, including a last-second slide that was a half second too late, to avoid losing by a kick. Speaking of kicks, Ryan Day was asked about that today, and I have no reason to believe, unless Jaden Fielding completely falls over today, that they would not play him. And he's their guy.
Sounds like there's a little competition going on right now.
Austin Snyder, I root for him. Groveport kid, great. He's not attempted a field goal this year. You're going to put him in this game? And he's,
Seems
2 extra
dicey.
points early in the year against Western Michigan and Marshall, whoever it was. If he's the most talented guy, that's great. It doesn't line up. By the way, that would line up if Ryan Day wants to just go full aggressive. He said, this guy has looked better this week. If he does, then he deserves the chance to prove it in the game.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, Ryan Day leaning into a kicker that he has. And by the way, Fielding was good in the Penn State game, real good. And he was good all the way up to the Michigan game. The Michigan game, I'm not putting the blame on him, even though he shares a decent amount of it.
No question.
But I would be shocked if but the proof of it is in the results. If Jaden doesn't look good this week, then the other guy deserves a chance. But I would be completely blown away if he changed kickers for this game.
And maybe it's a situation where it's been the last couple of weeks, too, that this has been unfolding, right, at some of these practices where these 2 guys have been going at it. And he's
How do you simulate the pressure, though, Matty?
It's a great question. I don't think you can. There's no way to simulate the exact type of pressure that's going to be felt in that stadium on Saturday. There's just no way. You can crank up the noise. You can do all those things
for the
in
kickers,
practice. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you could blare music. Like, you can do those things. But as far as, like, feeling what you're going to feel in front of 100,000 people with your season on the line, potentially, that type of stuff.
Put some NIL money on it. Whoever.
Got an extra $100K for you, if you make this. But it does seem like, whether he was being honest or not, that there has been a bit of a true competition going on, whether it's just been this week or the last couple weeks at the kicker position.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah.
But he talked today like this team has a lot of positive energy, that they have flushed the Michigan game what they've had to. If I'm him, I want to keep some of that. I want to keep some of that hanging over my team. There's part of it that you would say, hey, mentally, don't think you can't play that game again, but I want that anger of losing that game to last. Maybe that, I wonder how he would have answered that today. Like, how they can use the Michigan game as a coaching staff, not just mentally and just some crazy intangible, but, if there's a way to do it. But here they are, a few days away from lining up in the shoe to play a playoff game and start a run. There's a lot of pressure on this team. They're good enough to do it. They lost their biggest game of the year. They didn't compete for their conference title, yet here they are with a chance.
You can't be labeled as one of the most talented rosters this program has ever seen. And that was said by
Not by outsiders.
Correct. Two men that won national championships here in Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel, and not get to this point and not have a bunch of pressure on you.
Yeah.
It's time for them to put up and put it all on the table.
All right. Speaking of Ryan Day, Chip Kelly talked eventually and tells us the Ryan Day he expects now for Saturday night. Rothman and Ice on the Fan.
The only radio show Ryan Day listens to when we're holding him hostage, making him listen to a radio show. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
The Fan.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here from my friends at High Bank Distillery Co., located right here in Columbus. Introducing their newest product, 614 Vodka, Ohio's house vodka. Perfect to make a drink at home or try when you're out at your favorite local restaurant. Learn more at 614vodka.com.
Billiards Plus has the area's best selection of pool tables, shuffleboard tables, poker tables, and more. Select tables are still in stock, so hurry before they run out. Find stocking stuffers galore with darts, cues, and more game room goodies. Shop Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Hey, it's Anthony, and the Happy Honda Days are powering through the holidays at Germain Honda of Dublin. Rich is delivering all of the new Honda toys, including the new Prologue, the first all-electric SUV from Honda at 0% APR up to 72 months. Also, he's throwing you 0.9% up to 60 months on most new Hondas. And he won't even require a payment on the new purchases for 90 days. Go get the Honda of your holiday dreams with my friends at Germain Honda of Dublin on Sawmill Road just south of 270.
Make the most of your holidays with the Kroger app. You can enjoy over $600 in digital coupons every week. Get access to low prices and earn fuel points to save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. The Kroger app makes it easy to save this holiday season. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Fuel restrictions apply.
Save big on 12 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up. Select varieties or buy 2, get 3 free with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone. From sugar cookie crumbs in the kitchen to pine needles under the tree, count on Steel for Christmas cleanup made easy with the SEA20 battery-powered handheld vacuum. Now just $99.99. Power up the holiday and give a gift from the top of their wish list. Visit your local Steel dealer today or shop online at steelusa.com. Was $159.99 MSRP. Includes battery and charger. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Tomorrow.
December is a time for celebrations, whether that's just celebrating the end of another year or joining the Ohioans of all backgrounds who are celebrating more than a dozen different religious holidays this month. Let's stand together to celebrate that diversity. Our differences bring us together and make Ohio and Ohio's public schools strong.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Toyota-thon is on. Our biggest event of the year is better than ever, with our biggest and best selection, including the best-selling Toyota Camry. It's all hybrid all the time, with available all-wheel drive. Now through January 6th, you can lease a Camry LE from just $259 a month for 39 months with $32.99 due at signing. With approved credit through TFS, tax, title, and license extra. Call 1-888-36-TOYOTA for details or go to Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Chief Diebler's Buckeyes head to the Garden for a battle with Kentucky.
Live fan coverage starts Saturday at 4:45 on ESPN Columbus and The Fan's HD2.
Your flagship home of the Buckeyes, The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Get ready to saddle up and slip into your boots for a Wild West-themed New Year's Eve at Eldorado Scioto Downs, your premier Caesars Rewards destination. Join us for the ultimate Columbus celebration, featuring live entertainment and cocktails at Vail Bar, a one-of-a-kind celebrity chef dining experience with a 5-course meal at Guy Fieri's Trattoria, handcrafted brews at the Brew Brothers, and a night packed with winning excitement. Ring in the new year at Eldorado Scioto Downs, home to the largest and best gaming loyalty program in the country. This is one night you won't want to miss. See official rules for details. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Bob and Teresa Capace here at Worthington Jewelers. Thinking of proposing this holiday season? Find the perfect ring to capture your love.
Family owned for 25 years with over 1,500 styles and a relaxed, no-pressure atmosphere.
Worthington Jewelers, where Columbus gets engaged.
What's your favorite way to spend time? With family, friends, grabbing some alone time because you need a little space from your family and friends? One thing's for sure, it's not an unexpected stay in a hospital. Unfortunately, last year, flu and COVID hospitalized 1.3 million adults, and nearly 1 million of them were 65 or older. So get your updated vaccines, and don't let flu or COVID interrupt your life. Risk less, do more. Get started at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
We're dealing at Reichert Ford.
$2,500 low price guarantee.
With our lowest prices and 72-hour exchange policy, you can't buy the wrong car. Thousands of vehicles are waiting at ReichertFord.com. Get the right car at Reichert. We're dealing.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
After a wet start to your morning, the rain is exiting the area. It'll be cloudy and cold tonight with a low of 30. Cloudy and dreary tomorrow with a high of 38. A clipper system is going to bring in some snow on Friday. We could see a dusting of snow. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Want to know anything about the Fans contest, how to win, or what's up for grabs? Check out 971thefan.com. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
The best teams don't always win titles. Sounds like AR and Matty bragging about their fantasy teams.
Hey, that's cheating.
This is Rothman and Ice.
Oh. All right. Might as well tell you. The regular season championship down the freaking tubes in fantasy. I got golfed. And I've moved on. Actually, Bay could jump on. I am so over fantasy football. Every year I say it, and I'm proud that I won the regular season championship, but where do I spend that? I know there's money involved, but there's just no pride. It's just like totally tuck your tail and leave. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, we held a mini funeral for your fantasy team yesterday. It was bad, and we ran through your opponent's scores on the other side, and there was just nothing you could do. Jared Goff was projected to get 18 points, and he had 48.
You knew it was going to be a shootout, though. I just didn't know he would do that. But Buffalo had 3 dudes out in the secondary. That certainly didn't help when I saw that. And I kind of knew that Barkley against Pittsburgh was going to be not great. I was all ready to buy my first jersey in like 30 years if he would have taken me to a title.
If it makes you feel any better, I think you absolutely are wearing the crown for Executive of the Year. Your roster management from start.
12th.
And you did an incredible job. Executive of the Year.
That's
Unfortunately,
great.
We can't give you the real crown, but I'll give you that consolation
All 3 of
prize.
us are out, by the way.
I didn't even make it.
And I heard CB's out?
He's out, too.
All right.
That's probably why he needed a couple days off, too.
I'll say this. Nobody is more dedicated to fantasy, though, than AR. We were literally in the other studio getting ready for the show, and he's all into who he's picking up for today, just today, on his fantasy hockey team, and I thought he was done and had the decision made, and then 30 minutes later, he's like, so what do you think about? Well, I thought it was done. I thought you already got the guy.
Oh, Matty knows.
This man does not mess around.
I pour over this stuff and second, triple guess it all
and
that.
Bake, he'll get ready to turn the page here in about 2.5 months, and we'll be talking fantasy baseball options as well. So the man just loves fantasy. I don't blame him. But when it comes to your heartbreak with football, I would fully understand if you took a Jordan year off and just said, you know what, I'm walking away for a year, and I might see you guys in 2026.
You can't do that to me. You can't stick me at 12 in a 14-team league, win the regular season, then bounce me one and done. Like, that is not – I feel like I am mimicking my own team. Vikings weren't thought to be much.
Uh-oh.
They've had a great regular season.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 12th, picking 12th, everyone said, you're toast. And